Yes, it does not resolve where we think it's going to resolve. Hey, I'm Ron Drotos from KeyboardImprov.com. Thanks for joining me here for the 128th tune in the real book, Freddie Freeloader. Making my journey through the real book in order, just about every Friday, publishing a new video, just going song by song. It's an 8-year project. I hope you join me for your journey through the real book as well. And I have here my original copy of the real book, which I got in about 1980 when I was in high school from the famous jazz guitarist Sal Salvador, whose son I was very good friends with. And you just had to know somebody to get one, or sometimes the real book guy would come to your school or your college or whatever with a steamer trunk full of real books and set up in a room for a Saturday afternoon and just got your real book. But Sal had a few around, I guess, so I got mine from him. Nobody knows who wrote them. It's secret because it was illicit. They didn't pay royalties. That's why Hal Leonard has done it the legit way and published the 6th edition, which I think you should get because it's got a lot of great tunes in it. Freddie Freeloader being one of the best. From Miles Davis' 1959 album Kind of Blue, which is one of the biggest selling jazz albums of all time. And it's got a very mellow vibe behind it, you know, that whole album. I read recently that Miles credited that with him remembering a specific incident when he was young. 8 to 12 years old or something, I don't know. He said he was walking down this dusty dirt road in Arkansas. Maybe he was visiting a relative or something, I don't know. But he was in Arkansas walking down this dirt road and he had a feeling at that moment. And that's what he was trying to recreate on much of Kind of Blue. And I think it's what makes it special. It came from a real feeling that he was trying to capture. So a couple differences. The old version says Freddie the Freeloader. This says Freddie Freeloader. I believe it's Freddie Freeloader. That's correct. Just what they used to call some character from on the New York scene in the 50s. I don't know who he was, but Freddie Freeloader, and kind of a playful name, right? And the major difference, though, is that well, basically, it is a blues in the key of B flat. And this is, remember, the late 50s. And Miles come up in the late 40s playing with Charlie Parker, where if they call the blues, it would have 1,000,000 chords. Or, at least 2-5-1s and things like that. Freddie Freeloader represents a movement that was popular in the 50s, among other musicians too, where they would rebel against the complexity of bebop and go back to the roots of the blues. So Ray Charles came out of jazz and was playing blues more like this. Mingus would do blues that were more basic. Coltrane's Bessie Blues, which maybe early 60s, I think, is like this, where they go from the 5 to the 4 to the 1, not a 2-5-1 before the turnaround. But what Miles did was to make it a little different. And the first ending, it goes 5, 4, then instead of going to the B flat as expected, he does a surprise chord, A flat 7. It's the flat 7, dominant 7th chord. Just kind of a surprise. He's going back to the roots of the blues, but he's still saying, no, this is Miles Davis, and it's a little different than you might think. Keeps it fresh, right? So the biggest difference, though, is in the rhythm of the melody. In the old version, it's a Charleston rhythm. It's 1, 2, and 3, 4. 1, 2, and 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. 1, 2, and then the new one, it's square on the beat on 1 and 3. So it's. It's interesting. It sounds less jazzy, right? But again, Miles wasn't going for necessarily jazzy. He was going for this feeling he had, more of a, okay, I'm on this dirt road in Arkansas. Probably not a lot happening on that dirt road other than nature and whatever feeling he had. So he's going for this. Bum, bum, just walking down this road kind of thing, Or maybe it had to do with Freddie Freeloader somehow. I don't know. But in any case, I was thinking, why is it one way in one book and why in the other? So I listened to the original recording again. And what happens is, at the very beginning, they play this rhythm with the Charleston. 1, 2, and then they go to the second one. And then they stay with this, the more straight rhythm, through the whole head statement at the beginning. And then after the solos, when they come back, they play it like this, more straight, more square, so to speak. So I think, and I'd be willing to bet on this, it was just a mistake. They probably did one take of this, maybe two at the most, but it was a mistake, and they kept it in. So Miles played bum, bum. The other saxes kind of went with them, but then they immediately corrected themselves. And that's one of the hallmarks of jazz, is that people, live performances, people make mistakes. And I think a lot of times they would keep those on the recordings back then because the whole recording was so incredible. Nowadays, they never would do that, fix every mistake. And a lot of times you just get these sort of overly careful performances or antiseptic performances because we're not willing to go for that feeling, even if it means it's not as note perfect. So Miles could never be accused of being unfeeling or note perfect, for that matter. This is proof of it. So this just has a great groove, and as you heard before, I've been sort of playing a nice thing between the hands where the bass is almost, my left-hand bass is almost like an upright bass player playing a duet with the right hand. And I think I'm doing that on piano. I could do a walking bass too, which sounds great, but for me it's kind of like this straight, what I'm playing first inversion triads, like a G minor triad to an F triad. Sort of voicing it like the horns on the recording. Sort of old-time gospel music. Does that too, these parallel first inversion triads. But it's an invitation to me to play something more rhythmic in the left hand, because the right hand is so I don't want to say static or state, because that implies something not so great, but just pure. I'll say pure. It's kind of fun to give our left hand a workout there too. So that's where I'm coming from with this. So you can experiment with all those ideas on your own too, and I hope this inspires you. was thinking a little bit too, who was Freddie Freeloader as I was playing that, you know, because you have this sort of, just think of somebody sort of bopping around, this cool character, you know. I did a show once with a sax player named Bill Easley. He's a great player. Check him out. Tenor sax player, great clarinetist as well. But we did a show in the 90s called Swinging on a Star. And I remember Bill used to lament the disappearance of what he called characters. He said, you know, there's no characters anymore. He goes, in the old days, you know, when he was young, you know, someone would just be so a little like different from everybody else. And Bill called them characters, you know, real characters. We've pretty much all heard that term, I guess. And for me, Freddie Freeloader must have been quite a character to warrant a tune like this. So good luck with your own playing. I hope this inspires you. Try out the tune, go through the real book. Whatever can help you become a better musician, that's what you do. And I hope this gives you some ideas. Got into a walking bass line there for a while, just very bluesy, just keep the groove going. That's what this is about. Thanks for joining me here, and check out my blog if you want some daily inspiration. I post most days, and love to hear a comment on the blog or just how you're doing with your own playing. Good luck, and I'll see you in the next video, which is, let's see, Freedom Jazz Dance, Eddie Harris, but another tune that Miles did about, let's see, was it 66, 67? About 8 years after Freddie Freeloader. I'll see you then.